Welcome to this spring edition of SportsPath, and this is typically the time of year when all our teams are at rest.
Well, there are some of them are at rest, but believe it or not, we still have plenty of action here in SportsPath. We're going to talk to all 5 activities directors from our Fab 5 schools. Also, we got some Hobey Baker Award college hockey news to talk about.
That's big stuff. Well, we kick the show off with some archery news. White Bear Lake Archery has had a storied program and have acquired many state and national championships over the years. The team recently qualified along with 5 individuals for the 2013 NASP National Archery Tournament down in Louisville. That's in Kentucky. That's next month. You can find out who the individual qualifiers are and more information on the archery team by heading to our Facebook page at facebook.com/TV19Sports.
White Bear Lake native Brian Bonnen won the 1996 Hobey Baker Award, which recognizes the best player in men's college hockey. Another White Bear Lake native could win it this year. Eric Hartzell didn't play much high school hockey as he was only rostered on the 2003-2004 Hill Murray hockey team his freshman year. After that, he moved on to play 3 years in Sioux Falls, South Dakota for the USHL's Sioux Falls Stampede. His father, former Gopher and current Let's Play Hockey columnist Kevin Hartzell, coached Eric in his years at Sioux Falls and still coaches the Stampede today. Hartzell moved on to play Division I college hockey for Quinnipiac. After an unbelievable regular season in his senior year this year, he not only led his team to the NCAA tournament as the #1 ranked team in the country, but also was honored as a top 10 Hobey Baker nominee. Well, the 3 finalists for the award were announced this afternoon, and Hartzell is one of them. He faces Johnny Gaudreau of Boston College and Drew LeBlanc of St. Cloud State University. The winner will be announced on April 12th at the NCAA Frozen Four. Also making Frozen Four appearances is White Bear Lake native and St. Cloud State senior Taylor Johnson, his teammate and former Pioneer Joe Philippi, and Oakdale native and Quinnipiac senior Ben Arndt. Best of luck to these talented gentlemen.
White Bear Lake High School baseball has a new coach this year, a 1991 White Bear Lake graduate and current European history teacher, Matt McLaughlin. He will take the head coach position after many years as an assistant under former coach Jeff Wagner. The Bears' first scheduled game is Thursday the 4th at Mahtomedi, and their first home game is April 8th against Moundsview. All games this year start at 4:15 except for the May 18th game against Hill Murray, which starts at 11 a.m.
The activities director position is certainly not an easy one, and with technology and changes each year to the sports in general, each year it seems to get more difficult. I was able to talk to all 5 activities directors in studio, discuss the challenges that ADs face, but also the rewards that the position holds. Welcome to a very special TV19 Sports presentation. We have the activity directors of all 5 of our schools here: Hill Murray, Mahtomedi, North St. Paul, Tartan, and White Bear Lake. We'll just start by going down the line and just tell us who you are, where you're from, and perhaps how many years you've been there.
Well, it's easy for me. I can remember that. I'm John Ballfield. I'm the interim athletic or activities director at Mahtomedi High School. I've been there, started in August. I'll be done in June. Okay. Prior to that, I was an activities director in the Anoka-Hennepin system for 20 years.
Right. Yeah, John actually hired me as a football coach way back when.
Really?
Yep, when we opened up Champlin Park. My name's Tim Herman. I'm the activities director at White Bear Lake Area High School. This is completing my 3rd year, but my 11th as an activities director.
Bill Lechner, Hill Murray, athletic director. 13th year as an athletic director, 32 years as a coach.
Jed Helwick, North St. Paul High School, activities director. It's my 6th year as the activities director and 13th year at North St. Paul High School.
I'm Brian Mutcher. I'm activities director at Tartan High School. 2nd year as the AD, but 19 years at Tartan. I had everybody's dream job as a math teacher for a long time, but no. The AD role.
All right, just first of all, anybody can chime in here on this. Why did you guys choose to be ADs? Anybody?
We're wondering that ourselves. I think it's something, for me, it evolved over time. Okay. I started in junior high in the Anoka system when we had ADs in the junior high. Led to opening up of Champlin Park and Anoka High School and then to Mahtomedi.
Is there a specific part of the job that you guys really like doing? I know, Bill, you get to coach as well. Is there a certain part of at least the activity director side that you really like to do?
I think, kind of like what John talked about, I started as a Phi Ed teacher for 10 years, and one of my role models was a gentleman by the name of Brother Francis Carr. And I thought someday that'd be pretty neat if you ever got out of the classroom. And then obviously the coaching part of it is kind of a plus. It's kind of your relief. You get to go be with the kids directly. So it's been a nice mix. Been fortunate.
John, you just mentioned it's your kind of your first year at Mahtomedi. What was it like kind of coming into that whole situation?
You know, it was an interesting transition. Fortunately for me, I know and have worked with Jeff Whistler for quite a while, so I've been tied by the phone to him. It was very late. I started the night of our first football game.
Wow.
So I was already behind when I got there, but it's a terrific place to work, and it's a great place to be an activities director. So I've enjoyed it. It's the same as many things are very much similar to what went on at Anoka in terms of scheduling and putting those pieces together. Yeah.
Sure. One of the major parts of the activities director position is kind of dealing with coaches. Jed, you've had in North St. Paul's storied softball program had to deal with some coaching changes. What is that like for you?
Well, you know, it's always a difficult process when you make changes, but throughout that transition, great things come out of it. You know, whether it's student athletes doing a great job on and off the field, or coaches seeing them excel in different areas. So, you know, going through that process again is a tough situation, but in the end, our coaches that we have and our student athletes that we have at North St. Paul High School, you know, are doing a wonderful job, and I have confidence that you know, we can move forward in a positive way.
You know, I think I think everybody has their own priorities, and they do certain things for their building or for their students or for their coaches. But I think, at least at White Bear, one of the most important things that we're trying to do is work with our coaches, coaching our coaches to do the things that they need to do. And the thing that I think is difficult, and Bill, you can talk about this too, but we ask a lot of our coaches, and they're not just doing the strategy of the game or teaching the technique. There's a lot of other things that they have to do. And we have expectations as activities directors of those coaches, and if we're not coaching them to do those things, it's really hard for us to say, you know, to bring them in and say, why aren't you doing those things? So I think one of the biggest responsibilities that I have in my building, and it's just me talking for White Bear, is that it's important to coach coaches, to help them find ways to do things that will make them successful in not only and I'm not going to deal with X's and O's, I don't know anything about basketball or swimming or anything like that, but I want to help them in their relationships with their parents, relationships with their student athletes, and those kinds of things.
What is the communication like with your coaches, and how frequent do you communicate with them?
One of the things that happens a lot in my building, at least, is the coaches just stop in. So you want to be there throughout the day. Right. And the funny part about it is your day then starts at 3 o'clock. But coaches pop in, and that's usually the easiest time to solve issues before they become bigger. You can talk them through that, or give them some ideas, or just handle it for them. And so a lot of times it's a drop-in, but email has become a very useful tool, and phone calls as well. But sometimes, you know, I won't talk to a coach for quite some time, and then the next 4 days they're in my office every day. So it'll depend on the situation.
I think one of the pieces that we all are aware of, how critical it is to have your coaches be teachers and staff members in your buildings. How much that facilitates the communication piece. You know, we got great coaches coming in from the outside, but it's an extra layer of difficulty for them and for you and for the athletes.
Tell me how that's changed. I mean, it must have changed. You guys have been involved with it for quite a while. How has it changed that, and what does it do to you as an activities director when you don't have what you used to have as far as coaches in the building?
I just came from a meeting this morning because we're in the process of hiring some new coaches, and it's exactly that, Tim. I think when we started, again, a couple of us, John, no offense, we're getting old. But we started probably, I want to guess, if I look back, 80-90% of us were teachers in the building. A lot of us.
And that was at every level,
At every
varsity
level.
on down.
At every level. When we started, it was expected when I became the FIAD teacher at Hill that I would coach 3 sports. And, so everybody was coaching 1, 2, or 3 sports. And you were in the building and you had visibility. And, selfishly, I thought it was great because you get to know those kids. Right. And as John said, and Tim's alluded to, it's also 9th grade. And, it's all levels, whether it be freshman, B squad. And now it's changed. And now we're looking at hiring new coaches. And so I'm at a meeting that, what jobs are there? And there's not the teaching jobs or the support staff around it. So now you got to be creative to how you're going to get those guys in the building that are quality coaches. And lastly, for me, with Tim was talking about, I think it's about 30 to 40% X's and O's now as a coach, and probably about 60 or 70% talking about life, especially with the modern world of social media and parents' involvement. And so it's changed. All I had pressure on doing was the X's and O's of the game, and maybe 20% being their big brother or whatever when you're younger. And now there's a whole lot more.
That's the interesting part of things now that we have so many people that, excuse me, are not in the educational environment that are coaching our student athletes. It really takes some effort from us to help them understand what high school athletics is about and how we'd like them to proceed as coaches. So that's why I said coaching coaches for me is pretty important, because many of those coaches that are working on our staffs are not teachers. They haven't been in the educational environment at all, and so it's important for me to help them understand what we're looking for.
Tim, that's also been recognized by the Minnesota State High School League in the adaptation of the coach's clipboard, where the coaches go through a series of videos and other trainings to make sure they know how to work with student athletes in our schools. So we work in collaboration, all of us work in collaboration with them, some of us on a daily basis.
Another thing with that is, what Tim was alluding to earlier. When I started coaching way back when in the early 90s, much different environment than it is right now. The demands on coaches, it's a much different animal. It's a good thing because there's more taught to our kids and they're worked, they're involved a lot more, but that also creates a lot of demands for those coaches and time added onto it, that it's tough to keep that longevity.
And I will say this too, for teachers, new teachers coming in, I can't believe all of the things that they have to do, all the tests that they have to make sure that their students are passing, or the requirements that they have. I remember when I first started teaching, that was a long time ago. We didn't have nearly the expectations in our classroom, except for making sure that we were following the curriculum, things like that. We didn't have all of the other state-mandated testing and all those different things. And a lot of our new teachers now, if I come up to them and say, have you thought about being involved in an activity as an advisor or a coach? They look at me and say, sure, I'd like to, but I don't think I have the time. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult situation. And that creates a difficult situation then for us.
One of the main things also with the coaches is who they're coaching, the players, and having to deal with all the student athletes. How do you guys, deal with that? I mean, there's so many different sports. There's so many different areas of having, from not only the actual sport, but the grades and all the off the field activities. How is that prioritized in an activities director position?
I think one of the main ones is you really have to have a good quality head coach, because they're a runoff of us. Mm-hmm. They got to take a lot of that burden on, at least at our school, especially when I coach 2 sports. So I really need those head coaches to really be an extension of the athletic department, the administration, that's the whole key that helps run the staff, and then obviously a support mechanism around it, because we can't do it by ourselves, no way.
And, having to deal with parents as well, is that kind of something you have to deal with on at least maybe around tryouts as well? You have to do, what is that like?
Toughest ones to deal with the tryouts means it's a cut sport, and that's I have one of my coaches that calls it a dirty 3-letter word, which we don't want to cut kids, but with resource and space in some activities you need to, and that's disappointment. That's tough, and that creates. Parents want their kids to be a part of the activity. They want them to be successful in it. And when a kid wants to be in an activity and we can't have that happen, that's not what we're about. That's not what we want. But sometimes we're limited with our resources. So that can be a difficult thing to manage, and that happens.
And going back to the athletes, there's a lot of focus now with concussions and all that and player safety. Obviously, coaches probably have to deal with that more, but is there anything, at least on the activities director side, that you guys having to maybe take extra steps with various things in terms of making sure players are healthy and safe?
That's why we hired a trainer, to tell you the truth. When I first came to White Bear, they didn't really have one in place, so that was one of our priorities. I want to make sure that our athletes are as safe as they can be, whether it's at practice or in a game. I think it's difficult for head coaches to know all of that information too, and they just don't. I mean, I remember in the old days we would walk out onto the field or on the ice or wherever, and we'd deal with an injury. Yeah. I wouldn't want to do that for a number of reasons, but mostly because I just don't know what I'm doing, and I don't think I can expect our coaches to know how to handle injuries either. There's some general protocol that we can help them with, but basically I want a professional out there dealing with our athletes and whatever, in any case, if that I can have them there. So that was important to me. That's a tough one. I think we ask our coaches to do a lot. That's just another one where we have to be real careful of what we ask them to do in an injury situation.
At North, we've implemented Impact Concussion Management Program, where the students sit down in front of a computer and take a pre-test, and if they suspect they have a concussion, they take a post-test, and so we've implemented that. I think most of our schools have implemented that program to be proactive if something does occur with a student athlete. So.
Well, I guess we're dealing with right now with media and all that. There's so much, not only from sources like us, but there's also network channels and all that. You get questions, I'm sure, all the time about certain athletes and all that. Is there anything that I guess stands out in your mind in terms of having to maybe perhaps protect an athlete from certain sources, or with the blogging world and all that? Have you ever had any of you ever to deal with that?
Well, I think at all of our schools we talk about social media and the dangers of it to all our student athletes, and I know at the Division I level they have specific courses that they talk about this stuff, and restrictions on what they can say and not say, and all that stuff. So I think we're all aware of it. And it's a scary tool, but student athletes need to be smart in what they say in the social world.
Do any of you have a social media policy for student athletes right now on the books?
No, I think our coaches address the social media piece in their preseason meeting, and of course ongoing throughout the course of the season.
And one of the best things I've heard is if you are going to post it on a site, would you be willing to have that posted in the front page of the Star Tribune or in the front lobby at Tartan High School? That's especially what I say to my coaches. Social media is here, and it's one of the best tools to communicate with kids. But it can also have some dangers to it. But if you're willing to write something that would be posted in the front lobby, that's a very useful tool in helping kids understand what's going on.
I think it's already evolved. Initially with the Twitter accounts and the text messaging, adolescents think they're invisible, and they don't live in that isolated world that they think they live in, and the awareness needs to be up. If they put something out there, it can be retweeted or forwarded on. So I haven't seen as many issues with that as we did initially.
And finally, I mean, you guys have to, Brian, you have a Twitter account yourself, and I've used it many times for following game scores and all that. Getting those scores out there and getting the information out there. Talk about what the benefits from that.
Well, it's a tremendous way to keep people informed. I have alumni that are in college that are following scores and will comment or favorite a tweet. So I'm learning as we go here with Twitter, but posting pictures. My biggest difficulty is getting service in my building to tweet something. But a lot of followers, and it's really been a great way to connect with kids. And then some kids that might be at a girls' basketball game at Richfield High School, but then they can find out what the score was of the hockey game that night, and they're very interested in finding out. And we were at the robotics competition on Friday and posted a picture there, and I had many comments on that. So it's a great way to publicize our school, publicize our events that kids are involved in, and it's been a blast, actually.
Do you guys see a future in which, you know, you'll never have to struggle to find a high school sports score anymore? I mean, the way the internet's going, you know, you can eventually, I would say, you know, maybe you have every game broadcast online or on you know, cable access like we have here. Do you guys see any sort of future with that?
Well, it's as good as the people manning the ship.
Right.
You can find scores guaranteed accurate,
Right.
and not all the time. Even in the paper, you don't get the accurate score.
Right.
Yeah, you know, we just had a SEC ADs meeting and brought in one of the people that works with the Pioneer Press, and we were talking about reporting scores and the accuracy of scores, and how can we do that better. And you know, basically, he's telling us, you know, there's a way to do that, but the other part of that is very few people are reading the paper. They're using the online version, or they're going to some other version to get their scores. And you know, all of us know that there's about 1 million different ways to have a score reported, but it does come down to who's doing the reporting and is it going in on time, accurately, all those other things. And so that was just a note I sent to my coaches today about, you know, can we handle this responsibility? We were talking about how do you get to your coaches. I mean, I think our coaches, I sent an email, I sent so many emails, they probably just, you know, I laugh, I think they probably just delete as soon as they see my name on there. But there's some,
I do.
Yeah, well, I send you the ones I don't want anybody else to see. But the thing is, I just, you know, it is a difficult thing to get your information to all of the sources. So where do we go? I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those questions of how do we narrow it down? I wish there was more of a clearinghouse. I know that the high school league was trying to do that way back when with trying to get everybody to report scores and results into their website, but it just, you know, it didn't work as well as they wanted it to. But it sure would be nice if we could limit that a little bit as well, work-wise for us and for our coaches.
And right now, we're even looking at, should you have that as a full-time job? Should it be a person that's basically you know, coordinating all that, and at what levels? You know, the varsities obviously are covered pretty well right now, but do you drop down? You know, you have the parents and community members that want, they want their JV, their B squad, their freshmen. Can we do a little blurb there? And you know, on all the websites and all the programs and you know, so it's becoming more and more that's coming onto our plates, and we have to, obviously it's here, so we better figure it out pretty soon.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I mean, I know you guys have busy schedules. We're just talking about just a fraction of what you guys have to deal with on a daily basis, and you know, obviously it seems to be pretty rewarding. I mean, that's why you guys are there, and so thank you guys so much again for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Zach, it seems like you probably could have gone on forever with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I got the cue to, you know, wrap it up, and I was you actually kind of saw it in there. I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to keep going. I probably could have done 45, maybe even an hour of stuff.
And a whole hour show.
Wow.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. Who knows? Well, thanks, by the way, to the 5 athletic directors for coming into the studio and chatting with me. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun and great insight.
Yeah, it was good insight. Speaking of insight, do you have any insight? There are 4 basketball teams left in the March Madness. Who are you taking?
Michigan, Big Ten. Got to go with the Big Ten.
No hesitation.
No.
I picked Louisville before. I got to stick with them. They've done me well so far. So
There you go.
can't the rest of my bracket that I filled out is in the garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I did pick the Harvard upset. That was the only thing I did pick. That was good. I picked the Florida Gulf Coast upset as well.
Right. You had them going to the Sweet 16.
I had them going to Elite 8. So.
Close.
Yeah. Also, want to really quickly go back to hockey really quickly. Hannah Brandt, former Hill Murray hockey superstar, a lot of fun for us here at the station to cover her for I don't know how many years, 5 years.
And always willing to talk with us.
Yeah, very open with the media, and well, she's got a lot more media attention the past couple weeks. Heard her on KFAN, all these different networks on TV and radio, and because she was a part of the amazing, the dynasty, the perfect 41-0 2012 through 2013 Gopher women's team that went 41-0 and won the state national championship, high school sports, I guess. But no, congratulations to her and the entire team. And but yeah, wow, I mean, it's crazy.
The former Pioneer, Hannah, we also have an open invitation that we'd like to bring her here in and have a little talk with her. So we hope to have that for you soon. If you're listening, Hannah, give us a ring.
That's for sure.
Get you near.
She's such a good hockey player. She's such a key part. And going back to that Gopher women team, what an amazing job. 49 straight victories, including last year. Wow.
A little pressure going into the next season.
Well, you got to get that 50th, and then you got to get that 100th. I mean,
you know, on and on, and
you know, it does. I mean, it does remind you. There's a White Bear Lake in the 80s had a couple of undefeated years of basketball in a couple of state tournaments, and so I mean, it's so hard. It's so rare to see perfect teams in any sport, and it's crazy.
Quickly, let's move to the Frozen Four hockey. We're talking about hockey. Who do you pick for that?
I'm trying to figure this one out here. It's kind of tough, but I got Quinnipiac. They've got great goaltending, and goaltending wins you championships, as they say.
I'm going on a limb. Yale beat the Gophers, beat North Dakota. I'm going with Yale.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely riding a hot streak into it.
Right? You got to play hot at the right time of year.
That's for sure, and that's what they're doing. So, yeah, congratulations to all the teams, all the players going there. Pittsburgh should be fun, and as you said, the Final Four, college sports, and then we got spring sports coming up very shortly here with lacrosse and baseball, softball, golf, tennis. I mean, it's gonna get going pretty quick, and it's nice to see the weather warming up so we can actually get these things going.
And as long as everything stays dry.
Right.
So we don't have these games postponed. Well, that's going to do it for Sports Path. Our next Sports Path will be on April 17th. Special thanks to Matt and Caden Camp down at the Blue Dragon, and also Cap Moon for liking us on Facebook. If you would like to be a part of the TV19 volunteer crew, simply contact Arlen Becker here at TV19, Hannah Brandt, or find us on Facebook and send us a message. Thanks for watching. I'm Tim Peterson.
I'm Zach Elverson, and that's your Sports Path.